Okay, so one of the other things you're going to need to make is a cutting box to cut all the timber. So this will be the size timber you're cutting, and we're going to make one of these. Now, as you can see, this side is a bit longer than that side. That's so that you can put it in a vise and hold it there and do your cuts. Now, in order to make one of these, the reason why we're making one of these is one of the critical things we need to do is we need to cut studs, which are the pieces that go up and down between the top and the bottom plate for the wall to sit up like that. And they all need to be exactly the same length. If they're not the same length, it doesn't work. If you've got them up and down, it just doesn't work. So we want to create a jig so that we can cut them always at the same length. So that when you put your walls together, all 6 walls, they're all going to be exactly the same height. And then it makes it much easier for later on. So in order to do that, like I said, we're going to be making a little bit of a cutting box. This is one that I've made previously. But how you're going to make it is you're going to get different bits of timber. I'll just pull mine apart. So you can see how it works. So you'll get 3 bits of timber. A piece of 35 by 35, and you'll have 2 pieces of ply. One is longer than the other, is higher than the other. If I turn this one around, I've got down here top. So you need to be careful what you do here, because you want to make sure that the top is level. So all you need to do, excuse me, with this piece, 35 by 35, this one's pretty simple. Just on the bottom here, make it flush along there and do your pencil line. Then we want to pre-drill some holes, so just measure in 100 millimeters, which I've done there, and measure in 100 millimeters, which I've done there, and then just eye up the centre, because you want to pre-drill some holes here for your drill bits. Now, leaving this on the top here, making sure this is on the top, you've done that. All you need to do is extend that across to here, and then once again you can eye it up to make sure it's level, pencil line it, pencil line it. Once again, measure in 100 millimeters and do a line here, measure in 100 millimeters and do your line here, and then eye up the centre and do your line down the centre where you're going to pre-drill a hole and pre-drill a hole. So, now that we've got our holes pre-drilled, we'll just use a little drill bit, and we're just using some 35 millimeter screws. We don't need long ones. What we now need to do is put it together. So, using a bit of glue, I haven't glued mine because I have purposely haven't glued mine so I can pull it apart for this video and for other things, but you will need to glue yours, because the 2 screws in its own won't be strong enough. We want to make it strong all the way along the bottom. So make sure, what I want you to do is make sure you glue it. So once you've glued one side of it, level this up. Now some of these might be a bit longer on one side than the other. As you can see, I've got it overhanging here, but we do want one end to be flush, absolutely flush. So once we've got this glued and we've got that screwed in position like that, it's just a matter of that's that one. Now this one actually, as we turn this around, this one has to sit down there. So the best way to do this is once again put some glue on here. And the best way to do this is to actually sit it up and down like that. And if you need to sit it up and down like that, try and hold it. You might need someone to hold it. So make sure it's flush there. And screw that in. That's not quite right, it's not flush there. I've mucked that up. Might try it again. Silly me, I've got mine the wrong way. I'll show you why in a minute. Silly me, I needed to put it that way. Yeah. Which I'll show you why in a minute. It's just on this one. Now you'll notice there's a cut in here. Now that cut is where you're going to cut all your studs. So what you're going to do at one end of this is make a little trapdoor system so that when you put your bits of timber in, they're going to stop at the right spot, and every time you cut they're going to be exactly the same length. Now we needed to calculate, according to the plan, reading the plans, you needed to calculate how long your studs were going to be. So when you've calculated how long your studs are going to be, whatever that measurement it is, put a line here, and I should have gotten a square, and bring that across, and with your square bring that up, and certainly with your square bring that up. Then let's get your saw, tenon saw, just start cutting all the way down to the bottom. You don't have to cut too far into here, just stop when you get to here. So you want to cut that. So we know the measurement from here to here is going to be our stud length, and it's going to be consistent all the time. The next thing we want to do is put our little trapdoor system in. So just a little bit of MDF, and all we need is some 25mm nails that are flathead, so they've got a big head on them. Oh, that one doesn't have one. And then all we need to do is, in here, this is going to be our pivot point. Just tap that in all the way, so we can flip that out of the way when we don't need it, but we can put it back when we do need it. Now, because it's going to be moving, we don't want to nail it through here. What we want to do is we want to create this as a stop. So just tapping it into the centre, pushing this MDF, and you just want the head of the nail to just sit on the top of this MDF, so that when you put it back here next time, it won't, when you put the timber against it, it won't push it away. I could probably just tap it a little bit more there. There. So what that means is that now that I've got this little trapdoor here, if I need to cut anything long, that's not a problem. Always put the cutting on the other side, because you always put the piece on that side, because you're always cutting on a pushing motion. But if I need to cut a stud, or if I need to cut studs, I have plenty to do. So much for being prepared. So these studs, I've got them all ripped up, and they're over 700mm long. So we have some long rulers. So these ones are 600, 690. So you should be able to get 3 studs out of these. And you can just cut 2 at a time. So if you put one on top of the other, and all you need to do is put your studs in, making sure they're hitting that back wall, this little trap door. Then with your saw, cut your 2 pieces. Now you're going to be making lots of studs for blocked ends, so there's another, I'll put another 2 in there. Okay, and I should have enough left over for another 2, so we should be able to get, I should be able to get 6 out of them. Now if you have any offcuts, don't throw them out. You're going to need them. Okay? So there I've been able to make my 6 studs. and I know they're all going to be exactly the same length. Now these little scraps, or you might even find some smaller ones over there, don't throw them away, because you're going to need you're going to make things like these, blocked ends and wall junctions. So don't throw these away. Even if you've got short bits that are shorter than your studs, you might have a piece that's a bit shorter, use that up. We want to use minimum wastage. So that's the reason for the cutting box, so we can consistently get them to the correct length. If you do need to cut something a little bit longer or shorter, then if you've got a piece, all you need to do is put it over the edge. You can either cut it here or you can cut it in here, but that will stick over the edge. So just be aware of your little trapdoor here, just look after it, because it will save you a lot of hassle with regard to how you make your studs. So that's your cutting box, and that's what it's used for. Later on you'll also use it for your roof template. We've got to cut roofs, so we've got to cut roofs at 60 degrees and 30 degrees, so we're going to use this a bit later on for when we make our roof. So that's the cutting box, there are our studs, and like I said, minimum wastage, don't throw any of the small pieces out.